This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Once again, it is Women's Month, but also temperatures are raining hot in Kawempe North as the by-election will be taking shape and taking place on Thursday this week. So the seat for Kawempe North in Parliament fell vacant when the area member of Parliament, Muhammad Segirinya, may his soul rest in peace, did succumb to his illness on the 9th of January 2025 at the age of 36. So because of that, and according to the Constitution, we are supposed to hold an election, a by-election, so that the seat is filled, because the term is still ongoing up until when we will have general elections next year, 2026. That is for you who was wondering why we are spending money and time in an election when the general elections for the next term are next year in 2026. So when you look at what has been happening in Kawempe North during the the campaigns, it's been marred by controversy, and there has been some cases of torture and cases of unhappiness by the electorate because of some of the cases that have occurred, and we will go deep into those as we talk about the whole electoral process in Kawempe North, but also in the country at large. Since this is an election year, we are going to be having many conversations of this nature here at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, especially on Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, I will be speaking to Milton Kambula, who is a political analyst, and we want to look into the experts' opinions regarding the election in Kawempe North and also elections in the country overall, because in June we will be having the special interest groups elections in the country. That's why when we talk about elections we say 2025, 2026, because the elections will actually be starting this year with special interest groups. But not to keep you waiting, let's get into the conversation. But first, good morning, Mr. Kambula.
Good morning, my sister. I'm very delighted.
You're welcome.
COVID went, I can't touch your hand. Our viewers, I'm very excited that UBC TV has invited me to share my views, expert views, how we saw the elections in Kawempe, and what are the lessons to take home for the different players, including the citizens of Uganda. What are the pros and cons? And I think after this debate, all of us will be able to learn, because Uganda elections pave way for investment.
Yes.
Pave way for trust that we are growing our democracy and the rule of law, and the rest of the world is watching Uganda. How are we organizing and facilitating peaceful, fair and transparent elections? What is our capacity for electoral commission? But also the state apparatus, the militarization, the human rights defenders. What are we saying? So I want to say thank you, the management of UBC, and particularly you, my sister, that you're able to host me. Thank you.
All right, now getting into it, Mr. Kambula, the government has assured the public of a clean election. But according to reports, there is violence and heavy security deployment in the areas of Kawempe right before the election takes place, which brings us to our first question of the day. How significant is this election in the broader Ugandan political landscape?
In the broader political landscape?
Yes.
You know, I thank the government of Uganda. First of all, Uganda did not have a good or positive electoral environment. You are aware, by 1958 there, we have this first parliament in Uganda where there was no black man.
Yes.
You can imagine how unfair and weak we are to ourselves. These British people established a parliament, And this parliament was not just representing your ideas. There was no ideas and interests of Uganda. Just the British Parliament of Uganda in Uganda. But the MPs were the British. So by God's grace, it ended by 1961, 1962. We have the first parliament being talked about. But everything on the table was just something to do with discussing tribal interests.
Yes.
Tribal, ethnic, partisan parliament. We did not, I don't know even if historians have documented this. You have the first parliament owned by Ugandans, but discussing what? Partisan. And we are saying we have an independence. We are going into independence where Ugandans are discussing their own interests and their future. But you hear MPs being mobilized from all over the country to go to parliament to now pull ropes to discuss issues of tribes only, not the state formation of Uganda. So that was a failed parliament. According to us experts, I have just finished my master's in good governance and leadership. That is not a parliament to us. Because as other countries like US, South Korea and other countries, India is part of it, discussing independence, they are now discussing passing a new curriculum that fits in the narrative of their own country and cultures. Here we have the formation of DP, UPC. CP was there, by the way. Of Kenny Rucham is the man. He's the founding father, was there by that time. Now, without wasting a lot of time, your history about elections in Uganda until 1986, you have a bracket of coups, failed elections. You have Mwanga, General Mwanga in 1980, messing up, actually taking over Electoral Commission and saying, I'm the only man who can announce the results of elections in the country. One who come on, Kasaja Kam, took over Electoral Commission and kicked out the chairman of Electoral Commission. And you know what? They announced somebody who was not, I think, the winner. And that forced Museveni, the current president, to say, kuno kusaga, tugenda munsiko. We are going to the bush. Because the outcomes are not reflecting the true output, the true inspirations of Ugandans. Museveni was not the best candidate, for your information. Naye, he saw that the unfairness for the political party that was supposed to win had not been announced.
And that was DP.
And he went direct.
Okay.
Now, now he wins the battlefield, the Bush War, 1986. Now we have Museveni and his team saying, I have come for fundamental change, including protection of elections and the rule of law and the human rights. Now, he frustrated us for some time. Multi-party just came recently. We had the movement, individual merit to prepare the country. Ugandans to understand that leadership is crucial. Until 1995, the new constitution, ushering in a new order of political, economic, and socio-cultural dynamics of Uganda. 2005, political parties opened doors.
Yes.
Now we see all political parties coming on the playground, Nambole, to try, each of us, to play a role in the political stability of Uganda.
Yes.
I am just summarizing for you the gymnastics of Uganda's narrative around elections. What is happening today, therefore, is that after 40 years in power, we must say the following are very crucial. 2 points that the government of Uganda has provided. And I thank you, the government of Uganda and the president of Uganda, for having fought, and you have given us 2 opportunities. One is that we are certain that elections will take place. I want to say, Mr. President, thank you, and I salute you, that every Ugandan, regardless of whatever happens, shine or rain or what, they know every 5 years election will take place. 2, I want to also thank you and the government of Uganda to have opened the doors for multi-party democracy. And our office, we are saying thank you, Mr. President, that every political party are certain that they will present a political candidate. That's very powerful because in many countries, elections are not certain. And we are going in for 2026. By this time, political parties, all of them, they are in consensus. The situation is not favorable for elections.
Yes.
So, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. And this will be part of your legacy. Thank you, because we will remember you that indeed every 5 years, political parties played a role regardless of what's happening. Now, unfortunately, as a growing political country, as the political environment grows, challenges present themselves. And so we need solutions. For me, I call you Mr. President. Mr. President, we have an enemy called militarization of elections. In Kawempe's experience, summing up is a reflection of what's going on all over all elections. And it is unfair that UPDF Act, the Police Act, provides perimeters and limitations for their involvement in the political activities of Uganda. Electoral Commission, therefore, in the coming 2026 elections, from the experience of Kawempe, we want you to organize your house in order so that we do not go to the Mwanga's experience, to see a parliament of Uganda having looters, people who are representing themselves, who are not coming out from the vote and the activities and the aspirations of Uganda. To see someone representing Uganda, you did not vote him or her. That is why.
But Mr. Kambula,
yes, please. Yes, please.
When we are going into an election, for instance, this one in Kawempe North, not all the candidates that certain people want will be voted. Some people will vote for Nambi, who is from NRM. Other people will vote for Nsereko, who is an independent. Others will vote for Nalukola. So at the end of the day, those people will not be happy that their candidates did not go into parliament. So what do you mean when you say it is not good or it is dissatisfactory to see a person you didn't vote for in parliament?
You see, I talk from what happened in Kawempe.
Yes.
First and foremost, the way we treated the former MP. That is Honorable Sejirinya. Now, with that legacy, and the legacy of exhaustion, people get exhausted. And our aspiration as a government was to open door for multi-party politics and dispensation, to allow people to enjoy their freedoms. Article 59 here operates that power belongs to the people, that is Article 1, but 59 talks about their freedom to vote the candidate of their choice to represent them. Now, our aspiration was to see that political parties become a vehicle to strengthen peace, democracy, human rights, but also security and stability. Now, what's happening there is that you have a line of political parties presenting their candidates properly, peacefully.
Yes.
But then you see the emergency of militarization that is not operationally guided. Because every general in this country is saying Simamanyi. Even the police saying Simamanyi. Even in the parliament, that is General, the Minister of Internal Affairs, was alluding that, okay, some people provoke police. But when he was asked General, he said, what are you talking about? A general? You don't know that you are your own security? Now, you are invoking citizens that in the upcoming elections, anger should actually mount and mount and mount. Then it means they are going to now prepare to actually provoke more these people who have hidden their faces. I was in the Middle East. I know what it means by hiding your face. Why should you mask your face? If you are legally a police officer on a legal operation of keeping law and order, why are you masking your face? So I want to say to the president, because for me when I come here, I'm talking to the president. Mr. President, somebody somewhere is misleading the country and the apparatus of security to mean that we go back to the Mwanga's experience. And this experience is not going to be good because people seem to be not appreciating the 40 years of your leadership. Because now, as much as you have done good things, and as a natural output, somebody is also doing bad things because they are thieves whom you mount and said, Toba, or you target Kwagara, or Mutukugamba, Toba. Katamutukugamba, Toba. That one is going to mount on the other side. So the good things are going to be eaten up by the bad, they call it bad ending. That bad ending is very bad.
And it spoils the entire process.
Exactly. It spoils even the good things that the president has done. So as I conclude this statement, I call upon ISO, Internal Security Organization, the police, the Uganda Police Force, the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Please let the people enjoy the elections. It is like Manu and Arsenal are playing and we go and watch a match. After the match, whether you have beaten me as Manu or you have beaten, people get out well and they say, next time, you have beaten. That is how we want political situation of Uganda to look like, because our history is not good. And the whole world is watching us. And remember, people are getting exhausted. People getting exhausted. Abantu bano betaga tubatandike n'okubakolera bagira bati kubasarazi cake tubayimbira obuyimba tubakolere peaceful atmosphere owa DP atambule bulungi owa NRM atambule bulungi colors abwe muziveeko. How can I be defined by colors?
Because your political party is defined by color. That's why there is color. But Mr. Kambula, I would like for us to still on the people being exhausted and also the events that have happened in Kawempe. I would like to hear your opinion on whether or not the events surrounding the Kawempe North by-election have either discouraged or encouraged voter participation.
All this stop people from coming to elections. In the last presidential elections, you are aware that actually almost half of the country, the voters in the country, they did not turn up. What does that speak to the leadership here I'm talking about? People are scared to come and be beaten, to be harassed, not to show their love toward their candidate. What are you fearing, human? What are you fearing? What are you fearing? We have loved the NRM. We have loved the NRM. We have loved the president. 40 years. And the Ugandans given you enough love to the fact that you beat them for loving their own children. So I am saying,
who are you putting on the spot here? Is it the president or is it the security agencies?
I have to put the president on spot because he does not want this. In his wisdom, he is not a stupid man to say political parties open the door for them. He did not open for them half, quarter. No, it was a full blast of enjoying our human rights to vote and a candidate we want. And it helps him to balance public service delivery. Because if that parliament did not have opposition, do you know what it would mean? Everyone would be jumping and urinating on each other. That's the power of opposition. It helps you as a leading head of state to actually balance power so that you know who's stealing. When Chagulanyi says, you also check. But if there is nobody telling you that here drugs are being stolen, roads are bad here, education needs to, then you will be comfortable. So the beneficiary of the opposition is actually the president. So this is what I can conclude with. This is very critical. Is that we want to clean the Electoral Commission. One, by making it independent. Making it independent, they are the ones to determine whether security is necessary or not. Sometimes you don't need guns. Do you need guns, AK-47? We have very few and limited manpower in security. We need to protect our borders. There is a war going on in DRC. Now you focus heavy loaded deployment of sophisticated weapons that are supposed to be at level 4 war zone. You are now putting them in Kawempe. Kawempe is here with those slums. Why do you take those members there? We have a bigger enemy at the border between the DRC and Ugandan constituency.
Mr. Kambula, one would say that
Yes.
there has been incitement of the public. And normally when we have, let's say, riots, protests, they normally happen in places where Ugandans run business, which affects people's businesses. There is looting and everything that is characterized by protests. So are you saying that the argument that it is to deter incitement of the public, which in the end, in effect, affects people's business, are you saying that that argument is weak?
Now it is us who incite the public. Let me tell you this for free. I am an expert, a very international expert. I move around 52 nations. Can you imagine? Supervising operations of 52 nations in peace building. You should use this as an expert advice. When you over deploy, you actually incite violence, because it is natural people to say together kakuma over come rain or come sunshine. So why do you incite? At first they were peaceful. Now when you over deploy, they are too ugly, even our daughters and sons to see them. Why do you deploy these hooligans? These are satanic. Look at them, the way they look. They are only sending signals to our next generation that elections in Uganda should be banned. Do you know that in the next government may ban these elections? And we go to another formula of looking for leaders. And it scares me.
Aren't you being of little faith?
No, I'm telling you, people like us with values, we may not even join leadership. Because we get scared. Why do you turn these elections? Because good people are going to actually hide to come and participate in leadership.
Now, on that,
Yes.
let me get your attention and
Yes.
your view
Yes.
onto another issue that Ugandans are raising. Younger me, let's say the me in primary school
Yes.
and in secondary school, but let's focus on the 90s and late 90s when I was in primary school. We had a genre, we had a class of representatives in parliament that were creme de la creme.
Exactly.
Very well educated,
Exactly,
men and women that could speak, and you're like, yes, you have a point. They were well read, well researched, and when they presented matters on the floor of parliament, they were not using emotion. Now, vis-a-vis the parliament we have today and the former, where we see members of parliament literally beating each other on the floor of parliament, where we are seeing security personnel enter parliament and take out members of parliament. Now, after juxtapositioning that, the parliament we have today and the former parliaments, there is one thing that has stood out for Ugandans, and for lack of a better word, there is someone, a commentator recently, who said we send quote-unquote clowns
Yes.
to parliament.
Yes.
That's why I'm quoting.
Yes.
And in your own perspective, do you think that the fact that we have commercialized politics, now we send anyone and anything that has money to represent Ugandans?
You're a very good host. Primary students are better than us, the elders, today. At the time we are debating, we had civic education.
Yes.
Mr. President, the new curriculum has something like, but we want back the civic education, where people, all Ugandans, know qualities of a good leader. Can you imagine?
We even had a song, a good
Yes.
leader should be able
Exactly.
to...
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, what you are seeing is someone who has taken over this country, preparing people to become violent, because we have to be hungry. People get hungry to defend what they want. And for so many years, the others die. So you have a generation of young people who don't know even what leadership is all about. So primary students are actually, their debate and their engagement in the political discourse
Yes.
is better than us. Those, especially if we did research, there is a generation which misses that. For us, we are no longer now interested because we know what politics is all about. It's not all about beating one another, kicking one another. I don't need to discuss Museveni and I go personal. His child, his wife, that is stupidity. I go to the real cause of his programs, not as a person. Now, going to your question, is that To win an election in Uganda, you must be also a very good mafia. I don't know. You must. Omutima wino kubanga waguwayo omira egundi eri ensanafu pini kubanga. They even tell you the voters. Will you manage? You are going to die. When you are set also as a candidate, you say, "Oh my God, what I'm going to face is guns." What? So you also start preparing. And your manifesto is not looking at serving people, advocating for human rights, proper education, health care. You first mantle now the first enemy at the gate, police, which is even masking itself, kind of terrorists. Now the candidate must also spiritually, morally, and all those things are not. So people who are good, they will not come to that kind of, and the president is missing because he has to hand over this country to a morally upright generation that is civic, that is innovative, that is entrepreneurial. But in this space, you have a future of people in parliament who won elections through the battlefield. It means they are soldiers in mindset. They are opposers in terms of they cannot even see anything good about government. So what type of laws that come from there? They can also be manipulated. They went for loans to buy the mafias also because they have to go to also prepare a response. So as an MP in Kampala any division, now we know you have also to go and buy and assemble them. Those ones that can be against the police. Are you seeing it now?
That is a serious allegation.
No,
is it a fact?
I am giving you what is in all the country. To stand for MP here, or president, or don't tell the voters that I'm coming, you inspire them. Also, Samuka group to actually protect and respond or provoke. Because they have also learned that when you are now at the top of the table, look at this analysis. Did you know that police is the one who sending MPs to parliament? Because the one they provoke, beat every day, is the one voters say, I think, and they vote that person to go to parliament.
Wow.
I don't know if you that is now from expert.
You're painting quite an interesting picture, but dear viewer, you can join the conversation through WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. The Kawempe North by-election is happening on the 13th of March 2025, which is Thursday this week. Now, members of opponents, I should call them that, we have various opponents, we have various individuals that are contesting for a ticket to be in parliament, or they are seeking to replace or to fill the vacant seat that was filled by a fallen member of parliament, Muhammad Segirinya. Among these, we have Nalukola, that is from the National Unity Platform Party. We have Aisha Nambi, who is from the NRM, that is the ruling party, National Resistance Movement Party. She's their flag bearer. We have Nsereko, who is an independent, and we have Khalifa Aganaga, that is from the Forum for Democratic Change Party. All of these these individuals are seeking to become the next member of parliament for Kawempe North, and they will be serving just a few months until we get into the general election. So to enter parliament or not to enter, that's a decision that Kawempe, why are you laughing? To enter parliament, to fill that seat or not to, that's a decision that the electorate, the voters in Kawempe North have to make. But the election process, the campaigns have been marred with controversies, especially when it comes to military involvement in the whole process. And some political commentators and actors have criticized the government on the events that have happened, but also this opens a broader perspective and conversation regarding Uganda's elections, especially when you look at how opposition leaders are seeing or are perceiving the actions that are taking place. Now, One of the critics of the government and a former presidential aspirant, Major General Mugisha Muntu, argues that the election violence and military presence are deliberate tools to instill fear and suppress opposition. Mr. Kambula, what is your take on this?
And I think, General, it is actually beyond that. It is beyond that because it is not all about opposition, but a cancer designed to kill the legacy of the current government. I want you to know in this gymnastics of politics is that as the nation is rising out of the historical challenges, there are those even within NRM themselves who are also exhausted, and they are now, they're in a junction. That's why you see NRM can bring a candidate, but also behind NRM stakeholders there is another candidate who is independent, but he's coming because some of them know NRM one here will not win, but they divide themselves in a way to frustrate actually NRM itself. So you watch these viewers, that within NRM there are those that are going on. There is some devil kubanga omuntu watukira okwambala ekikokolo ku mutwe ate nga ine mundu ya Uganda. You remember that gun and that uniform is our taxpayers' money. It belongs to us. That's our money. How would someone from government present a terrorist? These are terrorists. I fought terrorism all my life in the Middle East. I was on line of fire. Now seeing that picture coming to actually grab political party leaders and supporters.
Actually, now that you're saying that in NRM, what has the party said so far when it comes to these excesses that we have been witnessing in the media?
Nobody
reports?
in NRM can associate with those guys. Nobody, even the president. He will politically not talk about it because this is a political scientist. I studied political science. He will not take care of the future of the country by withdrawing any unnecessary security infrastructure. These are not good images because history is being written. But for them, they think right now it's okay, but history is more important because right now they're in their 60s and 80s and 90s. They don't have more 50 years ahead. Now, what is important now for them to work? They should work towards protecting their legacy. What is Uganda going to talk about me? Are they going to talk about me? I deployed hooligans to go and kill people of Kawempe.
Does it matter how you're talking about?
If it doesn't matter, ask what has happened on the family of Idi Amin. Ugandans are being forced to actually like Idi Amin right now because of what's happening. Our generation is starting to write history, our own history. And this is a caution to also political parties. I thought by opening political parties and political space, we would be exemplary. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
But before the general elections, even internal elections also, what we see at national level, by the mismanagement of maybe electoral commission, maybe police, maybe internally, they also have corruption inside the majority of them to even select a candidate. But and so vote to be a political representative, they first sell it. It is on sale. To represent a political party, it is on sale.
So the system is rotten
every
way you look at it,
yes.
whether it is in the opposition.
Yes.
I am not sure about the ruling party.
No, actually, the ruling party is worse. You remember the other elections in President Museveni's village, in the constituency. Sudo and you remember that? Sam Kutesa's daughter.
That wasn't in his constituency.
Which constituency was that?
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. You remember that is NRM, pure gunners. You are seeing a gun coming to hit a neighbor, local people, students. That shows you how immature, how ridiculous and unprepared we are to rise and build a democracy that works for the future of the country.
So looking at that,
Yes.
looking at the Kawempe by-election, looking at the party primaries, I'm sure you're referring to the 2020 party primaries in the NRM, that
Yes.
Sodo
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
Looking at all of this from across the board, the opposition and the ruling party, let's look at the learning lessons. What do we
Yes.
pick here?
Yes.
What lessons should we pick from this to shape electoral reforms? Because probably in everything that you're saying, what I'm picking out is that we need electoral reforms, and not just on paper,
They
but
don't have even
but,
no one
but
is
reforms
thinking.
that we can
Yes.
actually use and follow for the betterment of the electoral process in elections to come.
When I read the electoral reforms you people are presenting in the parliament, because you have a parliament that majority of them are not thinking. Those that are thinking are being mashed down. Because you have people who the system producing them is not a credible system. People are being beaten, people don't vote. They cannot cause a 21st century parliamentary reform. Within itself, the reform should start with
What does
parliament.
the 21st century parliamentary reform look like?
Oh my God. I am lucky to have gotten experience of how nations are built. Now, let me go to the question. What are the lessons? One, parliament itself needs reform. Because if you want to make good food, you first prepare the kitchen. If you have a kitchen that looks like this, and the food is likely to be
the kitchen
poisonous.
is disorganized. You have dirty plates here.
Exactly.
You have you can't find your way around the countertop.
That parliament, which can be bought by 5 million shillings per candidate, that is not a parliament.
Is that a fact,
It will
or it's
not
a serious allegation?
It will not cause political, economic, and even educational reform. That parliament you're seeing there, where they say, shut up, 2 minutes, you need first to reduce that parliament to have 200 MPs.
So one of the biggest issues is the number.
And the standard of an MP in Uganda must be risen up to match the 21st century transformative modeling of the whole world. The economy has transformed. We are now talking about globalized economy. You are no longer producing for your stomach. You are producing for people in China, for United States. Who is this MP on the economic committee who understands the global economy?
Well, the minimum requirement to become an MP is senior
minimum, even the curriculum has been reformed. So everybody in this civil service must go home to retool themselves. So because everything they are producing cannot work in the 21st century. Policy, business frameworks, leadership, and even assessment. How are we being assessed on this TV? Are we producing products for the country? Look at the opposition. Bring them here. Apart from saying, Museveni, what are they presenting?
That's very
The
important.
curriculum must be transformed from nursery up to PhD level to make sure children graduate with jobs. Graduate with civic and cultural values. Who is talking about these things? So the parliament must be reformed. The voters must be reformed. Because if we do not know who to bring to parliament, they are voting on Azikirako. Let us vote this one, he buries our people. Is that a role of an MP to bury the poor people and the rich people? They are still in the politics of religion. Onomo Catholic, Onomo Anglican, Onomo Sira. What stupidity is this? We are building a state, a nation to compete with America, to compete with Russia, to compete with China.
Do we know that?
That is the role of the president.
As Ugandans who vote these people into parliament and different political seats, do we know
lessons learned,
who the
Mr.
competition
President,
is?
You have this time to redesign, to reboot a new Uganda. Because everything rests in the hands of the president. But it seems the people around him, no, the president came to work. He's still fresh. If he's still fresh, he must redesign the country. He must kick out people who are not giving him these outcomes I'm talking about. He must kick them out and bring new people who can reshape the education of the country. This country is beautiful to have this corruption. The whole world prizes Uganda. We fought LGBT too. And then we are one of the most corrupt countries. What are you talking about? It doesn't come We fought LGBTQ to show the world that twina values.
We
Neither if ever
understand.
be number one. What I talking about? Mr. President, you still have power to reorganize parliament. You have power to fight corruption. You have power to strengthen our families so that me and you, like if you were my wife. The president has a role to make sure me and you, we produce a child we can take care of. See that bisikuzara babi, echo chiwandi ike. Parents, and parents listen to me. We muba mwagale nsi empya, tutandika okulabira obwana bwaffe. Obana tubatekemu empisa, abana tubayigiriza okukola. You go to everywhere, oyinayo mutwalo. Can you, what type of Ugandans are these? We are not producing from underwear to the shoes to the hair to what can we do in the global economy? Kati ffe abachina bayinza okutwala ensi yaffe. Abayindi bagenda twala ensi yaffe. Mu myaka 10 we are not going to exist. We are going to be slaves in our own country. And lastly, my sister, you asked me, let me conclude with this. The lessons learned is that one, we have not learned from our own history kubanga tuddayo mabiga. Obote byakola byebimu, ne amini byakola byebimu, naffe tutandise obikola. Actually tubikoze ate bubi nnyo kubanga teffe twasoma. Ekyokubiri kye tuyize point enampono gitegere tewali kye tuyize mu history waffe.
We've learned nothing from our
and
history.
Forget nothing. It means we are just growing in size of population, but disorganized, but in conflict and in poverty.
So basically we are feeding on junk food.
We
There
are
are no
dead. We are a
nutrients.
dead population. Say it on this national TV. We are a dead population. If to justify that as a scholar, you cannot justify 6 years of your independence. And more than, say, 80% of your things you are using in the country are all imported. It means you are a dead population. If you can hold the elections, and the elections, after 40 years, you are having military beating people, and you political parties, you also look at your manifestos. What does this hold?
Let's look at manifestos, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
It's important to note that going to parliament is not necessarily, it's not actually to go and unseat the sitting president.
Yes.
However, when you look at the rallies, the things the political opponents are promising the people, there is pretty much nothing in terms of substance, but there is a lot of abuse, ridiculing of the president and other people that serve in government. Now, this is common in pretty much every election cycle. Members of parliament and even those that aspire to fill the biggest office in the land, which is the presidential office.
Exactly.
In most cases, we have nothing in terms of policy.
Yes.
They are not promising anything quantifiable or tangible when it comes to policy. So, your message, even the ones that are from the ruling party, the members of parliament, are still, they're not really, they say things like, I will build you a hospital, I will do, but the president has been very vocal on the fact that members of parliament or aspirants should not promise their constituencies things like, because it is not in the power of the member of parliament to construct a road, to construct a hospital. They can lobby for the constituency, but they go ahead and promise. Then they buy ambulances for the constituencies, and when they lose, they pull out the ambulances. So putting all that in a nutshell.
In fact, we don't have elections in Uganda.
You started by saying we are having consistent elections every 5 years.
Those are not real elections that help this country.
So what are the real elections?
And you have asked me what they are for.
Yes.
Now, if you want to have elections that help this country grow qualitatively, not quantitative, that you have elections per every 5 years. Now, this is what is important. Remove government. Us versus them. Us versus them. Chigenda tuta. Chigenda tulia Uganda yefe. Now this is the narrative. Let us start impressing one another. Impressing one another means, regardless of my political party and your party, we look at each other as partners on modeling Uganda. You come and present a model into Banang. Me, as a noob, I am bringing education that provides values. Or me, I'm bringing education that provides employment. Now, the voter, there should be an internal mechanism led by the government to bring back civic awareness, civic consciousness, civic education, because the voter looks like they voted. Do you understand? These people that are voted, the MPs, they are products of the ignorance that is in us. Do you understand? Kubanga omuntu bwanzikira ku mbandowooza ye mukulembeze omulungi. But somebody needed to bring the new mindset to tell Ugandans programs all over the country must be on radios, on TVs, on Kadongo Kamu, in the music, in the church, in the mosques, telling Ugandans that please, you Ugandans, you are the ones who have caused all these problems. Do you know what? You have a power to vote a leader. This leader must be a patriotic, a Pan-African. He must love nature. He must love culture. Time conscious. Some of our leaders come late, even in meetings. He must be a person whom we have been with for the last 30 years. And you know his background, his father, he's a judge of the like 80 judges. Sometimes we're even voting foreigners in this country. Somebody's going to come from over where even these aliens are about to come and land in Uganda and lead us. We will vote them, so long as they have come with the money.
Because they nationalized.
Now,
it's in the Constitution.
There is what we call commercialization of politics. You Ugandan, you are not a prostitute to be bought. Let me say it like this on this TV. Time has reached. Omuntu yena kuwa sente mugambe nze sigenda kulonda ne sente zo. Kubanga ze change agala these roads. Look at the potholes, swimming in potholes in Kampala. I thank you, Mr. President, and the Ministry of the KCC. After talking heavy on this TV, they have started now repairing the roads. We don't have a capital city.
Mr. Kambula, your parting remarks.
My parting remarks are not good. I am simply saying we don't have a capital city. We don't have politics that heals, that bridges peace, unity, politics that unites. Religion is also a part of that context. We must have politics that works for all people, religions that work for people, culture. You know, Uganda's culture is now dead. Everybody is almost a thief, criminal minds. So we need a holistic 360 degrees, holistic transformation of mindsets. But also these ministries are not helping the president. The president needed to holistically also transform them to deliver public services. The electoral commission need to be holistically be transformed, and they need resources, not now the other electoral commission that works for a candidate. Military, get out of our elections.
Well,
get out.
You.
Police, get out.
Thank you.
Thank you for the peace of the country. Please let us love our country. God bless each one of you. I have spoken, hurting most of you, but what I have spoken is not about getting a vote from you, but love your neighbor, regardless of their religious differences, regardless of different tribes and political parties. We remain one family, one Ugandan family, and the future is bright if we are united, because unity is the power for this country.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Milton Kambula. Mr. Milton Kambula is a political analyst and very passionate at that. He has highlighted many things that need to be changed, but also given credit where it is due regarding some of the efforts that the government has put in place to ensure that we have elections in this country. Now, Phillips from Karamoja says, good morning. Thank you for the show. I watched a nasty scene in the Kawempe by-election campaign. Uganda has lost trust in the leadership identification. Getting leaders on meritocracy has been hung up for another generation, if possible, to revive. And Morris says this political analysis, brother, is true. Nowadays, Ugandans can't even start a business and run for a year. Let him open to the president. Let him talk to the president on the and Mama on the education system and overtaxation of Ugandans. And lastly, Lubogo Benjamin shows that this is showing us the best image of what is taking place in Kawempe North Constituency, as people are beaten like animals, but some unknown by unknown gunmen. Thank you so much for your views. And as we close, my parting remark is, as Ugandans, we are a reflection of the leaders that we choose. If elections are marred by violence and intimidation and military presence, What does that say about our democracy? It is something for us to think about, and this is where this conversation ends. But the show does continue because Good Morning Uganda sports updates are on next. Thank you so much.
It has
Mr.
been a pleasure.
Kambula.
Thank you so much.
It's been
for
great.
you. Yes.
Stick around. We are continuing with Good Morning Uganda.